What happens when a seasoned journalist finally puts a stop to carefully controlled PR spin? When Savannah Guthrie sat face-to-face with Meghan Markle on live TV, no one expected the confrontation that followed. The Today Show studio turned into a battlefield of truth versus narrative, and what unfolded left Meghan completely exposed. Before we dive into this jaw-dropping moment of live television, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Do you think celebrities deserve tougher interviews? Because what you're about to witness is journalism at its fiercest. What started as a typical morning on the Today Show quickly spiraled into a tense moment no one saw coming. Millions were expecting a lighthearted segment. Meghan Markle was there to promote her latest media project. Smiles, small talk, maybe a few charming anecdotes. That was the plan. But Savannah Guthrie had something else in mind. This was not going to be another carefully controlled PR visit. This was going to be different. As the cameras rolled, something shifted. Savannah, always calm and composed, asked a question that caught Meghan completely off guard. It was not rude, it was not harsh, but it was direct. Too direct for someone used to having the narrative on her side. Meghan smiled through it, but her eyes told a different story. And just like that, the tone of the interview changed. Social media lit up within minutes. Viewers flooded X, formerly Twitter, saying they had never seen Meghan so visibly uncomfortable. Clips of the moment were reposted thousands of times. Some called it awkward, others said it was long overdue, but nearly everyone agreed Savannah Guthrie was not playing softball that morning. She challenged the Duchess. And the Duchess stumbled. Was this just a journalist doing her job? Or was Savannah speaking for all those who felt that Meghan has never fully answered for the contradictions in her public story? That is what we are diving into today. The questions, the body language, the fallout, and what it all says about how celebrities manage their image in the age of accountability. Before we go deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you think journalists should hold everyone to the same standard, royal or not, then this is the channel for you. And after watching, let us know in the comments, was Savannah out of line, or did she finally say what many have been thinking? Now, let us break down exactly what happened, moment by moment, because what went down that morning was more than just an uncomfortable interview. It was a reckoning. And it played out live, in front of millions. Meghan Markle walked into the studio looking exactly how you would expect a former duchess to look. Impeccable. Her hair was sleek, her smile was carefully curated, and her outfit a cream-toned designer piece seemed straight from the pages of a luxury magazine. Everything about her entrance was calculated to signal calm, control, and charisma. This was supposed to be a standard press stop, nothing more than a friendly morning show appearance to promote her new lifestyle brand. But today, show set was its usual bright and cheerful self. Viewers tuning in would expect laughter, soft lighting, and maybe a lighthearted conversation about home decor or smoothie recipes. Meghan had done this before. She knew how to play the game. But this time, something was off. The air was different, subtle, but unmistakable. Savannah Guthrie greeted her with a smile, but it was not the warm, effortless kind. It was tight, professional, controlled, not hostile, but definitely not relaxed. For longtime viewers of the show, that look on Savannah's face said one thing. This was not going to be a softball interview. Something had shifted. Maybe it was the growing public fatigue. Maybe it was the headlines piling up faster than press releases. Whatever it was, Savannah was not in the mood. To play PR assistant, Meghan took her seat and crossed her legs with poise. The cameras were rolling. She began speaking about her latest venture, a wellness brand rooted in mindfulness, balance, and empowered femininity. The kind of words that sound nice on a vision board but leave people wondering what the product actually is. Savannah nodded politely, letting Meghan speak uninterrupted for the first few moments. But that silence, it was not approval. It was set up, because behind Savannah's calm expression, there was a quiet intensity. This was not just another celebrity segment. This was a moment of reckoning, and Savannah was about to make that very clear. And here is the thing, this is just the beginning. If you are into truth bombs, media accountability, and dramatic takedowns that leave celebrities visibly shaken, now is the time to hit subscribe. Join the conversation, hit that button, and do not forget to comment below with your thoughts. Are celebrities held accountable enough, or do they just spin the same stories until we stop asking questions? Because today, one journalist decided to ask those questions out loud. And what followed was anything but expected. Savannah leans in, just slightly, her smile is there, but her eyes are doing something else entirely. It is subtle, easy to miss if you are not paying attention. But Meghan sees it. She shifts in her seat, crosses her legs the other way. The camera catches it all. Then comes the first real question. Calm, clear, and straight to the point. Meghan, you have spoken before about feeling silenced, but since stepping back from royal duties, you have done Oprah, The Cut, your podcast, multiple interviews. Can you help us understand how that aligns? The air shifts just like that? The mood changes? Meghan pauses, her lips parting into a soft, diplomatic smile. She nods slowly, buying time. Well, Savannah, having a platform is not the same as being heard. She begins, her voice level, measured. There is a difference between speaking and being understood, between talking and being truly seen. It is the kind of answer that sounds smooth on paper, but in the room, something feels off. Savannah keeps her gaze steady. So, were you silenced, or just not agreed with? There it is, a clean shot, delivered without malice, but with undeniable precision. Meghan blinks, caught for a moment. Her hand moves to adjust her blazer. That calm, curated image starts to shift. It is not falling apart, but it is changing. She lets out a light laugh, the kind people use to soften a hard moment. Well, I think people often misunderstand what it means to feel unseen. Just because I had a chance to speak does not mean I was free. Savannah nods but does not let it go. Yet, many would say you had more freedom than most. The ability to share your story, to produce your own content, to shape your own narrative. That is a rare kind of freedom, would you not agree? The silence between them stretches, just a few seconds longer than normal. Meghan's posture stays straight, but her eyes flash something else. Defensiveness. Maybe, or just the weight of being called out without being directly accused. She leans forward now, her voice a little lower. With respect, Savannah, freedom is not about microphones or magazine covers. It is about safety. It is about dignity. That line lands well. Meghan is good with words. She always has been. But Savannah is not rattled. She nods again, still calm, and many would argue you had both. Even as the public grew divided, you remained one of the most covered women in the world. That is not silence. That is spotlight. Now Meghan tightens her jaw. Barely, but it is there. The camera does not miss it. She opens her mouth, then closes it again. She glances off stage for just a beat. Then she returns to her script. I think people will always have their version of events, she says. I am here to share mine. Is poised, but it is not powerful. The energy has shifted. Meghan is on defense, now. And Savannah knows it. There is no yelling, no raised voices, just clean, strategic pressure. The kind of pressure that makes a polished story wobble just for a second, and in live television, a second is all it takes. The crack has appeared. Not enough to shatter the image, but enough to show the audience that something behind the curtain does not quite add up. And this is only the beginning. Savannah leans forward slightly, the weight of the moment settling into her voice. Her next question is not aggressive, but it cuts sharp. In the Oprah interview, you said you received no help, no guidance on how to be part of the royal family. Is that still how you see it? Meghan nods slowly. Yes, I was left completely on my own. There were no briefings, no lessons. I had to figure everything out by myself. Savannah does not respond right away. She glances down at her notes. Then she speaks, calm but clear. I want to ask about something that is confusing to many people watching. In your engagement interview, you mentioned being coached, that they helped you understand royal protocol, how to speak, how to present yourself. There is also video footage of you at Kensington Palace, attending those sessions. That seems different from what you are saying now. There is a pause. Meghan's eyes shift, and for a moment, her smile falters. She blinks, then lets out a breath. I think people confuse protocol with emotional support. I was shown how to wave. Sure, but nobody cared how I was feeling. Savannah nods but gently pushes. That may be true. But the phrasing you used was no help. You made it sound like they left you in the dark about everything, when in fact, there were structured introductions. You had formal briefings. You had people around you. Meghan adjusts her posture. Having someone teach you how to curtsy is not the same as helping you survive mentally. Savannah listens, then replies. That is fair, but you did not say, I was trained in protocol, but left alone emotionally. You said, I received no help. Can you see how people might feel misled? Meghan looks down for a second. Her tone turns softer. I was trying to express how isolated I felt. Maybe I could have said it differently, but I was drowning. At that point, the surface stuff did not matter to me. The room feels still. Even the cameras seem to pause. Savannah, again, keeps her tone even. Many people believe you. Many sympathize. But when public figures speak, words matter. And when timelines do not add up or claims shift, it opens the door for critics to discredit everything. Meghan's lips press together. She nods faintly but does not speak. Savannah lets the silence hang for a beat. Then she adds, you also said no one prepared you for public life. But in your Netflix documentary, there are scenes where you describe learning how to handle media, how to walk into events. It seems you had access to that preparation. Meghan's response is slower now. Yes, there were moments. I was shown what shoes to wear, what not to say. But I am talking about something deeper. How to be safe. How to be emotionally strong. That kind of support was missing. Savannah raises an eyebrow slightly. But do you think it is fair to say no help at all, when some help did exist? Meghan sighs. Looking back, maybe I overstated, but in the moment, it felt like nothing was real. I was performing a role and dying inside. It is a powerful line. Painful, even, but the timeline cracks are already there. Savannah gives one final note. Truth can be complicated, but clarity matters. People are listening. And with that, Meghan is left sitting in the middle of a growing contradiction. The words she once used are circling back. The details she once gave are being held up to the light. And now, on national television, they do not all match. The timeline trap has closed, and the audience knows it. Savannah leaned in slightly, her tone calm but clear. She was not there to stir drama, but she was not about to let vague claims go unquestioned either. She looked directly at Meghan and asked the question many viewers were thinking. You said in the interview with Oprah that there were concerns and conversations about how dark your son's skin might be. That is a very serious accusation. Can you be more specific about who said that, and in what context? The room grew quiet. Meghan took a slow breath. Her eyes narrowed just a bit, not in anger, but like she was calculating her next move. I think asking for that kind of detail is part of the problem, she said. This is what gaslighting looks like. I shared my truth, and now I am being pushed to relive it and prove it. Savannah stayed steady. She nodded slightly, acknowledging Meghan's discomfort, but she did not back down. I understand this is a painful subject, but when someone makes a serious accusation, especially about racism within the royal institution, it carries enormous weight. People want to know what actually happened, not just the feeling of it. Meghan shifted in her seat. Her smile had faded now. There was a tension in her voice as she replied, I am telling you what happened to me. That should be enough. Savannah responded with measured firmness. Meghan, sharing your experience matters. No one is taking that away from you. But the word gaslighting means manipulating someone into questioning their own reality. Asking for facts is not gaslighting, it is accountability. There was a beat of silence. Meghan opened her mouth, then paused. The dynamic had shifted. The audience watching could feel it. Savannah had not raised her voice. She had not interrupted. But the control of the conversation had clearly changed hands. Were you ever told directly, by a named individual, that your child's skin color was a concern? Savannah asked again, this time slower, softer, but even more pointed. Meghan's answer came quickly, but it lacked the weight of her earlier claims. There were conversations. I was not in the room for all of them, so you did not personally hear someone say this to you. Savannah asked. No, it came through Harry. Savannah let that sit in the air. Then she added, so you are passing along something secondhand? Meghan's jaw tightened. It was told to me by my husband. Are you saying you do not believe him? I am saying the public has the right to understand what is being alleged and by whom. Otherwise, how can they judge for themselves? When accusations like this are made, they echo far and wide. They shape how people view the monarchy, the country, and each other. Meghan crossed her legs, her body language turning guarded. You are making it sound like I made this up, she said. That is not what I am saying, Savannah replied, still calm. But I am asking the same questions that many people are asking. Who said it? What exactly was said? Because without that, we are left with shadows. There was a sharpness in Meghan's eyes now. She was not used to this. Most interviews tiptoed around her. This was different. This was someone meeting her head-on and refusing to be swept away by emotion or sympathy, Meghan said. It was a culture of silence. People knew what was happening but looked the other way. Savannah leaned forward slightly. And yet, the only concrete allegation the public knows about is this conversation about skin tone, which you did not witness directly. If there is more, then say it. If there is not, then why frame it as if you had first-hand knowledge? Meghan paused. She blinked. Then she said quietly, because it was real to me. Savannah nodded again. And that is valid. Your experience is valid. But when it comes to the larger picture, especially when accusations are that explosive, people need more than just the feeling. They need facts. That was it. The emotional punch had landed, but so had the clarity. Savannah was not cruel, she was not disrespectful, but she was unshaken. She had drawn a line between emotion and evidence, and made it clear that both matter. But they are not the same, and in that moment, viewers saw something rare. A mainstream host refusing to be swept up by sympathy alone, and instead demanding something deeper. Truth with backbone. The cameras kept rolling. But the tone of the interview had changed. This was no longer just a platform. It had become a reckoning. Savannah leans forward in her seat. Her tone is measured, but her eyes hold a sharp focus. Let us talk about the journey. She says, the documentaries, the podcast, the book, deals. Some would say it looks less like healing and more like a media empire built on pain. Meghan shifts slightly. There is a pause, the kind of pause that holds tension just beneath the surface. I call it empowerment, Meghan finally says. This is me taking control of my own story. My voice, my truth. Savannah nods slowly. That is fair, she says. But you have spoken a lot about healing. About stepping away from the spotlight. Yet here you are again, front and center. On Netflix, on Spotify, in headlines. That is not stepping away. That is steering right into it. Meghan blinks, surprised by the directness. Healing does not have to mean silence, she says. Telling your story is part of healing. Savannah tilts her head. But who's healing? Yours, or the public's? Or the bank accounts? It is not an attack, it is a question, but it lands heavy. Meghan's smile falters just slightly. You made a documentary, watched by millions. A podcast with global reach. You signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix. Is that empowerment or is that capitalization? Meghan takes a breath. Why can it not be both? She asks. Why can a woman not turn her struggle into something meaningful and also successful? Savannah raises an eyebrow. Of course, she can, but when that struggle becomes a brand, when it turns into content, when every tear becomes a headline and every pain becomes a product, people begin to wonder. Meghan leans in. They wonder because they are uncomfortable with women owning their stories, especially women like me. Savannah does not flinch. Or maybe they wonder because vulnerability sells, because trauma sells, and they see you using that, repeating those stories, not in private therapy, but on global platforms, with production crews and sponsorship deals. Meghan's voice sharpens. I am not responsible for other people's discomfort. Savannah's tone stays calm. But are you responsible for how your story is packaged, marketed, monetized? There is silence again. Meghan looks off camera for a second, then returns to the conversation. I have lived through things I would not wish on anyone, she says. If sharing those experiences helps even one person feel less alone, then it is worth it. Savannah nods again. And yet every platform you choose is a major corporate partnership. Every story is released with timing, trailers, and press campaigns. That is not just helping, that is business. Meghan's jaw tightens. It is both, she says. I will not apologize for surviving and thriving. Savannah holds her gaze. No one is asking you to, but people are asking where the line is. Between healing and leveraging. Between truth and strategy. The room is quiet for a beat. Meghan looks tired now, but defiant. You know what I see, she says, a woman who was nearly destroyed by an institution, who found a way to reclaim her voice, and yes, maybe even make a living doing it. What is wrong with that? Savannah softens a bit. Nothing, she says, unless people feel like they are being sold pain instead of honesty. Meghan crosses her arms. That is their issue, not mine. But the air feels different now. Not angry, not cold, just real. Like two people having a conversation too raw for rehearsed lines, and for the first time. The audience at home is not just watching an interview. They are witnessing a tug-of-war between public image and private truth. Between storytelling and self-preservation. Between healing and the business of it. Meghan sat frozen for a moment. Her expression hardened. Then she slowly stood up. There was a pause. The room went still. She looked straight at Savannah. Her voice was cold. This interview is over. The camera did not cut away. The crew stayed quiet. It was one of those live moments that no one was ready for, but everyone knew would be replayed again and again. Savannah leaned back, calm, steady. Her voice did not rise, but it carried weight. Sit down, Meghan. It was not a plea. It was not aggressive either. It was firm, direct, like a teacher to a student, or a judge reminding someone that they were still under oath. Meghan blinked, caught off guard. Her fingers tightened around the armrest. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She had walked into this interview hoping for a redemption arc. Instead, she was facing a reckoning. Savannah continued, her voice still calm. You walking off right now only proves what people have been saying. That you can perform on Netflix, but not answer real questions. That you want the spotlight, but not the responsibility. That you want to talk, but not listen. The words hit hard. Meghan stayed standing, but she did not move toward the exit. Her eyes flicked toward the camera, then back to Savannah. You could see the storm behind her eyes. Every second felt like a minute. Savannah did not push. She did not gloat. She just looked at Meghan like she was waiting for the real person to show up, like she was giving her one last chance to stay, face it, and maybe, finally, be honest. There was a shift in the room. You could feel it. Meghan slowly sat back down. She straightened her blazer, took a breath, but the energy was different now. The performance mask had slipped, even if just a little. Savannah gave a small nod. She did not smile. She just picked up where they left off, as if nothing had happened. But everyone watching knew something big had just shifted. Not just in that studio, but maybe in the way Meghan's story would be told moving forward. No music, no dramatic exit, just silence. Then the next question. And all of America watching. Savannah leaned in just slightly. Not aggressive, not confrontational, just calm and steady. She looked Meghan in the eyes and said, one honest answer. Meghan, no PR, no rehearsed lines, just truth. Can you do that? The air in the studio tightened. You could feel it. Viewers at home were sitting up straighter. Meghan took a breath, slow and deliberate. Her eyes flicked away for a second, like she was searching for the right answer in the air. Then she looked back at Savannah and said, "Yes." Savannah did not hesitate. "Did you really think you could have it both ways? The title, the attention, the platform, but none of the scrutiny, none of the responsibility." Meghan did not blink, and for the first time in the entire interview, she dropped the polished tone. Her voice softened, her shoulders eased. She said, "I did." There was no drama in the delivery. No tearful pause. Just a quiet confession. "I thought I could be in the spotlight without the shadow. I thought I could have the attention when it suited me and shut it off when it got too loud. I thought the love from the public would be unconditional, like a fairy tale." She looked down at her hands, then back up. "But it is not like that. I get that now. When you step into this kind of role, public, royal, political, whatever, it is, you do not get to control how people see you. You only get to control how you respond." It was the most real she had been all morning. No buzzwords, no polished statements. Just honesty. Savannah let the moment breathe. Then she asked, "So, what do you regret the most?" Meghan paused, trying to spin everything, trying to fight every headline. "I was so focused on controlling the story that I forgot to live it." That line hit differently. It was the first time Meghan Markle sounded less like a brand and more like a person who got in over her head, a person who let pride mix with pain, a person who finally, maybe too late, realized that truth has its own power, and for a moment, everything was quiet. Even the cameras felt like they stepped back, because in that silence, Meghan had said the one thing no press release ever could. She was not perfect, she was just human, and for the first time, people believed her. Savannah took a breath, leaned in just slightly, and asked a question that had been hanging in the air for too long. "You say you are powerless," she said, quietly, "but you are a global brand. Do you see the disconnect there?" The words landed like a weight in the room. Meghan blinked, her lips parted as if to speak, but nothing came out at first. She reached for her composure like it was a scarf slipping off her shoulders. Then came the familiar tone, measured and soft. "I have felt powerless in moments," Meghan replied. "Being well known does not mean you are in control. People think they know you. They create stories, twist your words, fill in blanks with their own ideas." It was a carefully crafted response. But Savannah was not done. She nodded slowly, not buying it entirely, and asked again, this time with more edge. "But at some point, when you have the microphone, the audience, and the attention of the world, is the victim's story still real? Or is it a choice?" The air went still. Meghan's face froze. She looked away, toward the lights or the edge of the studio. Her hands gripped the armrest. A long, heavy silence filled the space between them. You could almost hear the studio crew holding their breath. Meghan shifted in her seat, her jaw tightening ever so slightly, but she did not answer. For a few seconds, it felt like time stopped. Savannah sat back, giving her the space to speak, but Meghan said nothing. And in that silence, a different kind of truth showed itself. Not the words, but what was missing. Not a denial, not a defense. Just the sound of a woman who could not explain why the story no longer matched the power she held. Savannah did not gloat. She did not push again. She just looked at Meghan.com and steady. That moment said more than any headline ever could. Because, the truth is, there comes a time when staying the victim becomes a mask. When repeating the same pain becomes a strategy. And the world starts to notice. Especially when the platform keeps growing. Especially when the spotlight stays on. Meghan had built something massive. A brand, a movement, a conversation. But at what point does the performance take over the person? And when it does, who is really in control? The silence ended the conversation more loudly than words ever could. And that was the moment the tone of the interview shifted for good. Savannah sits forward in her chair. Her voice stays calm, but the words land hard. She says, "You say you left the palace to be free. But are you really free, or are you just managed differently now?" The question cuts through the room. Meghan shifts in her seat, blinks once, and tries to keep her smile steady. She replies with a tight voice, "I have agency now. I make my own choices." Savannah nods slowly, not backing down. "But who writes the scripts?" "The palace had rules." "Yes, but your image now is still polished, still filtered, still carefully curated. You moved from one playbook to another." Meghan's jaw tightens. She tries to say something, but Savannah keeps going. "You left a system that told you what to wear, what to say, and where to stand. But now you are in another system, one that tells you which brand to partner with, which headline to chase, which angle keeps your name trending." There is a pause. Not for drama, but for truth to settle. Savannah does not sound angry. She sounds tired, like someone who has seen too many stories dressed up as freedom. She leans in again and says, "The crown had its control, but so does the spotlight. The difference is, now the control comes with a smile and a contract. You may not be royal anymore, but you are still following a script." Meghan's voice rises, a little defensive now. "No, This is different. I get to choose what I say, who I speak to, what causes I care about. Savannah nods again. Yes, but do you ever feel like you traded one cage for another, one with gold bars, the other with camera lights, and both ask you to stay inside the lines? The silence grows heavier. Meghan's lips part like she is about to answer. But nothing comes. Savannah sits back. Just something to think about. And with that, the moment shifts. The performance fades. Meghan is no longer the controlled duchess or the defiant speaker. She is just a woman caught between two worlds, both telling her who to be. No music. No outro. Just truth. Sitting quietly in the space between two women on national television. Meghan rises from her chair. Her face is tight. Her eyes no longer hold the same fire they did earlier in the conversation. Without another word, she removes her mic and walks off the set. The camera lingers for a moment. The room is quiet, but not empty. There is tension. There is weight. Savannah stays seated. Her hands are still folded in front of her. She does not flinch. She does not look shaken. Just calm, steady, almost like she expected this to happen. She turns back to the camera. Her voice is soft but clear. I think what we all witnessed here today, she says, is not just a disagreement between two women. It was something deeper, something that speaks to the moment we are in. She pauses, not for drama, but for honesty. There is a difference between telling your story and managing your image. Between owning the truth and rewriting it to fit a brand. Meghan had the world's attention. She had the sympathy, the platform, the power. Everything was lined up for her to lead with strength and integrity. Her voice lowers just a touch, but she chose something else. Savannah leans back in her chair. The set is quiet now. No noise, no interruptions. Just her, speaking plainly. The tragedy is not what happened to Meghan. It is not the headlines or the palace or the press. It is that she had a chance to rise above all of it, and she did not. She chose the spotlight over substance, the story over the truth. She looks into the camera one last time. We all get to choose how we respond when the world pushes back. Today was one of those moments. Then the screen slowly fades to black. No music, no flashy graphics. Just a lingering silence that leaves viewers sitting with their own thoughts about truth, power, and accountability. And maybe, just maybe, a little less trust in the stories we are told. Was Savannah Guthrie too harsh, or exactly what we need? More of in journalism. Let me know what you think in the comments. This was not just a clash of personalities. It was a raw, unfiltered moment where a journalist pushed back, and a royal walked out. Some will say Savannah crossed the line. Others will say she held it. But one thing is clear. Moments like these pull back the curtain on how much truth the public is really allowed to see. If you enjoy watching the masks come off, the tension boil over, and the carefully crafted media image gets shattered in real time, you are in the right place. We break down every moment that makes the internet stop and ask, did that really just happen? So do not just scroll by. Subscribe now. Be part of the community that catches every twist, every truth bomb, and every showdown that leaves people talking. This is where the real stories live. Hit that button and stay tuned.